For your first project in the course, you're going to be creating your own logo in Illustrator CS6. So I'm going to review some of the certain practices that are best utilized within this program and how one might approach this project from the get-go, or if you're working from a client. So hypothetically, there are some scenarios that I'll explain to you as we go along, but to get started, let's go ahead and do a new document, file new. For naming convention purposes, you always want to do your last name, underscore, and then for project one, you can do underscore logo just to remind you instead of just looking at project one, p1.ai. We're doing it for the purposes of print for now. That's how I'd like you to set this one up. Number of artboards, only one, that would be fine. Letter isn't really the size that we want to use for a logo, so it's always good to maybe change to inches first and then think of a good size that works for you. For example, I like around 7x4. This is just a nice size for me to work with, and it may be different for you. You can keep it at letter if you want, but for this I'm going to keep mine at 7x4. Say OK. Okay, so here's our working space, our artboard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in a sketch that I received from a client who wants me to do a logo similar to this particular sketch. Now, it could be just based on a sketch that you did, which is a great way to start your process, is sketching out your ideas. And of course, it can evolve within the program itself. Go ahead and do a file, place. And these here were multiple sketches created. They chose the first one on the left, so I'm going to place in that one cropped. Now you see it. Okay, so some of the best ways to work in Illustrator, especially creating logos, is to work with layers. I'm going to pull out my layers panel from the side dock. One of the first things that you want to do so that you're not moving this around when you're creating other elements, even if you're in a different layer, you can bounce around layers just by selecting, auto-selecting it's called. One of the things you're going to want to do is lock your selection. You can lock your layer if you want. However, I always trust it to be locked in the selection as well. So I'm going to select it first and do Object, Lock, Selection. So if I accidentally go on this layer and unlock it, then it's still, the selection is actually locked. So I'll lock that layer as well. Now I'm going to create a new layer. This layer can be, let's just call it field. And we'll keep it green, just because that makes sense for what we're drawing. Say OK. Now I'm going to start drawing with the pen tool this field. Go to my pen tool on my tools panel. And I'm drawing the path of the field. I don't really want an exact point for my corners because I just feel like that shape's going to be a little bit weird. And remember, as we discussed in class, shape is the first thing that a person sees when they come in contact with any kind of logo. Shape first, color second, content third. Okay, here we go. Now I have the actual field drawn with my pen tool, but of course I don't want it to be white. So the next thing I'm going to want to do is go to my, normally swatches is a great thing to have pulled out from the dock, panel dock here. We'll anchor these two together. I like them together. All right, and I want to make sure that my fill is in front. Okay. Fill is in front so that I'm filling this with a specific color. I'm going to do a bright green. And when I look at it, I really don't think I need that outline. So we're going to do none for the outline. And then I notice that if I go to my direct selection tool, I can sort of play around with these. If I shift click on the anchor point, I can play around with it just a little bit. Looks like the other one over there is a little bit higher, and I want them to be somewhat matching. May have to zoom in a little bit, but here you go. I have my field. Now I can lock that layer if I want. I'm going to create a new layer. Oops, I forgot to take out that. I'm going to unlock this real quick. I really don't want that stroke on there, so I'm going to say none. Okay, go back, we'll lock the layer. I really don't need to lock the selection on the layer because that's actually my logo. And I was locking the drawing behind it just because at no time do I want to actually move that around. So I'm beginning to build the parts of my logo. And so those can actually be easily accessed by just unlocking quickly. And again, it looks like this just looks a little strange, so I'm going to zoom in so I can get a little bit better handle on what's happening here. Of course, you can pull your guides down to make sure that these things align a little bit better. And it needs to be pulled over to the right. Okay. And then this one as well is just okay. That's much better. This looks like it might match up quite a bit better than it looked before. So I will back out by hitting Command or Control minus, Command on the Mac, Control on the PC. And now I can continue to build my elements, my logo. I'm going to do another new layer. Let's make this the text layer. Text layer can be, we'll just say dark green. Say okay. And you're probably wondering, what does the color mean? It just means that that's the color that it will assign. Like for example, if I select the field, there's a little green line here, or a little green indication. It's a little square. It's a bright green because that's what I assigned to it when I created the layer, that can actually move the selected elements from one layer to the next. So if I had multiple, believe me, you can have some really complex illustrations that you can be selecting a bunch of things and you want to move them all at once from one layer to another, and that's how you might do that. So when it's not selected, it doesn't show up, but when it's selected, you can actually grab it and move it to a different layer. Now it's on the text layer. Okay, I'm going to move it back to the field layer. And you can even see that that part of the field went from text back to field. Okay, I'm going to lock the field layer again. Now I'm going to create my text. I'm going to do something that's somewhat similar. Make sure I'm on that actual layer. If you do notice, when you're on a locked layer, you get this little pencil with a null set sign. So you want to make sure that you're on the right layer. Okay, go to my type tool. Now what I want to do is grid iron lawn service. Okay, I'm going to enlarge this. The quick command to do that is Shift Control on the PC or Shift Command on the Mac, and then less than, greater than. But you have to be in the type tool, highlighted on your type to do that. Okay, I'm going to center this. And of course, gridiron is not as large, so I will just select that, sort of make it somewhat even here. and the left and right sides. I can tighten up the leading a little bit by going to my character panel, Window, Type, Character. Leading is here. If you want more options, show options. We have a ton of really great typographic options here. Leading is usually right next to font size. And I'm going to tighten that up here so they're closer together. Now, depending on what typeface I use, that could change. So let's go ahead and select it all and put my cursor right into the font family field. And if I use the arrow up and arrow down keys, you can actually sort through the entire fonts, all the families that are located on your system, depending on what's installed with your system. And I like this Museo slab font. This is something that is pretty catchy. It's somewhat sporty looking. So I'm going to stay with that. Maybe we can find something that's similar but offers me a bold, because I don't believe this offers me a bold. It's just the 500. And I am not mistaken on that. So I'm going to bump up and down. Again, you got to highlight everything. Put your cursor right into the font family area. Arrow up and arrow down. So slowly, you notice they are very different. So depending on which one you like, it's got to be one that I like coming up. And I'm choosing the slab serif and that's a slab serif. I feel it's most appropriate and most eye-catching and current. Always do your research. This actually isn't bad. This contrapunct. This one's pretty interesting. Maybe we could stick with this. It's also a slab serif. I'm going to shrink it just a little. Do your research, as I was saying, on what fonts are current. You really don't want to be outdated font-wise. Some people really catch on to that. You want to offer something that's new, inviting, and fresh. Okay, light. It does give me a bold, which is a good thing. So I definitely want gridiron to stand out a little bit more. I'll make that bold. Shrink it just a little bit. And the lawn service, we'll keep that lighter for right now. Now in the sketch, it shows that there was a light colored yellow or a medium yellow for gridiron. I'm going to do like maybe a darker gold color for that. Oops, I accidentally stayed on stroke and I do not want to do that. So let's do an undo, which is Control Z on the PC, Command Z on the Mac. Okay. Want to make sure I'm in my fill. All right, I like that color. And then next, what I'm going to do quick is maybe do a dark green for the fill for this one. Because it's light, we want it to still stand out. Now I'm going to hit the eyeball real quick. You now see that I have the beginnings of a logo where we see shape first, color second, and then content third. I'll hit that one more time. Let's finish this up quickly. I'm going to go to I'm going to go back down to the field and lock the text. Go down to the field because that's where I'm going to, and I'm going to unlock the field layer because that's where I'm going to finish up my goal here. And the reason why that's happening is because I have a green on the fill. All I have to do is hit that. I believe we're about ready to end this video. So now you can see how you work with layers and building a logo based on a sketch in an effective way where you can start to target different aspects of the logo and build based on something your client has given you.